So, I was diagnosed with autism in my 30s, and I want to talk a little bit about that experience, about how and why it came about. And I think the reason I want to do this is because when I was going through the process of discovering that I might be autistic and pre-diagnosis, going through the diagnosis, there were some things that I've tried to figure out and just couldn't really find much information on it, not the sort of typical stuff that you would find. So I want to share those experiences, and also I think the stereotype of what an autistic person looks like or behaves like is definitely being challenged. So and I believe I'm one of those people, so I think the more stories we get out there, the better, right? So so right at the beginning, childhood, fine. I had what I would consider a normal upbringing, normal working class upbringing in the UK. Parents happy, still married, 2 older sisters. No real problems. I grew up, I mean, school was difficult at times. I think it is for most teenagers, children. I was probably bullied a bit, but not too much. I would consider myself an in-betweener, right? Nothing too out of the ordinary. And then when I sort of got into late teenage years, I started drinking a lot, right? Actually, that's a lie. I started drinking regularly. I started drinking a lot in my 20s. So throughout all of my 20s, I developed a very destructive relationship with alcohol. And it was sort of on and off. There were bad phases. There were some times where I felt like I was in control, and I actually quit twice. Once for 6 months, and because I was drinking too much and I wanted to get control over it. Which, if you have an addictive personality or some kind of dependency, is pretty much impossible. And that's really. That I realised that when I got to 30, and I stopped. So I haven't drunk now for over 4 years, but I stopped completely, and my life changed a lot, as you can imagine. Now, throughout my 20s, I had a series of relationships, ranging from a year to 2, most of them. And they all sort of failed in the same way. It was me drinking too much, being really selfish, not really understanding, not really caring enough, not thinking. I spent a lot of time thinking I wasn't the problem, right? And it got to, I reached a pretty bad point. I quit alcohol. And I stayed single for quite some time, about a year, I think. I bought a dog, changed my life completely, and I felt like I'd sort of figured everything out. I'm sober, I've got a dog, I've got responsibilities, I'm up early on the weekends. It was good, I felt like I was in control. Then I decided, to start dating again, and I met my girlfriend, and as it always is in the beginning, everything was great for 6 months, a year, and there was always so she's got ADHD. She got diagnosed with ADHD after a year or so of us being together, and it was pretty obvious, right? So we expected it. And throughout that time, I was sort of building awareness of neurodivergence. She's a singing teacher, so she has neurodivergent kids a lot, and she would say, she'd make the classic jokes, I'm an engineer, so right, okay. I like spreadsheets, oh, you're probably a bit autistic, and all of that. And it was all lighthearted, but I think that's quite common. And I never really took it seriously. Until one day I was doing some research and I come across a chap called Professor Tony Attwood. And I think he is sort of a bit of a pioneer in the industry for autism research. And I think he was sort of like 80s, 90s, early 2000s when he was sort of dominating the field. And I watched him do a talk on YouTube, and he made the connection between alcohol and autism, and it was something just clicked, and it was the first time I thought, okay, right, this is a bit too weird now. And it was, and I'd never really heard anyone talk about it, or I'd never seen anything about it, that link between the anxiety and the addiction. And yeah, a light bulb went off. And that is one of the things that I haven't really seen many people talk about. I've seen videos of people who talk about alcohol, how it numbs, sensory overload, and that sort of thing, but I've never really heard, I don't know of many people out there who have had to completely quit and really had a dependency issue with it. So for me, that was a massive realization. And then sort of throughout, sort of in parallel to that, throughout the relationship, we were having some relationship difficulties, right? Just communication. And all of these were familiar to me because they were exactly what happened in all my other relationships. But whereas then I would just drink and not care, I sort of didn't have that to hide behind. So I sort of found myself in my early 30s in a relationship, not understanding my own emotions or how to deal with other people's emotions. And I just, it was a real realization to me that I do not understand the very basics of maintaining a relationship. So I started therapy at that point, and I went and I've had 2 therapists, both brilliant, and it did really help, and it still is helping. But the difficulties that I've had maintaining relationships have been really, really tough. I have shutdowns regularly. And again, like, I know shutdowns are mentioned a lot of the time, like communication is mentioned a lot. All of the sort of things I've seen, sensory issues. This is how people discover that they might have autism. It's itchy clothes and sounds and I never really had any of that, or at least I never really acknowledged it because I was drinking all the time. But where I have just failed miserably all my life is relationships. It's just been such a massive problem, and I still don't get it right. I'm probably not going to get it right completely, but I do have a partner now who is neurodivergent and understands, and I've got a therapist who understands, and I've got the diagnosis, and which was an incredible experience. But anyway, so there. I didn't really plan this far ahead, but the 2 things I really, really wanted to bring up was the alcohol or just drug sort of dependency, and relationship difficulties. And I know other people will experience these. I'm not saying no one else does. I'm just saying I haven't seen them being talked about as much as all of the other common traits. So yeah, what I plan to do is talk about these a lot more, in a lot more detail, from my experience, my insights, what has helped me. The intention is that other people will see this who were in a position that I was in and go, yes, I resonate with that, I can connect with this person. And I'm hoping that if that happens and that helps someone, that will also help me. Because it would be really nice for me to know that other people are out there are going through a similar thing that I've gone through. Yeah, and you know, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I have no medical credentials whatsoever, I'm an engineer. Yeah, I think that is it. If you are still watching, thank you very much, appreciate it, and let me know if there is anything that you want me to talk about more, or if you have any questions that you want me to answer. Yeah, I'd be very, very happy to do that. So thank you very much.